Hello, and welcome to the story behind the words. My name is Principal Giddy Jr., and I'm your host. Here we discuss personal story connected to my words. Is there a part of you who used to be shy? Over your past self, we have past, present, future versions of ourselves. I will discuss the past, present, and future version of myself. First, I will start with the past self. The past self of me was shy. Actually, I was shy since I was a little kid. And at the time of writing this, I'm 33. That past version of myself was in my early 20s. At the time, my mother, in my early 20s, my mother lost her job due to her eyesight. And that was shocking to me and it caught me off guard. It turns out it was a tumor behind her eye. And that was after we moved out of our apartment because we couldn't afford the apartment anymore. And we were staying with my aunt. We had to go all the way to Seattle to removed. And after the fact, there was some complications after that. She ended up staying with a family friend. I was still with my aunt, and but my mom was with a family friend. And that was challenging too. Came from challenges, complications after the surgery, where I had to help take care of her. Well, partially. Then a year later, she passed away. I didn't go to the hospital because I didn't want to be in the hospital. I was reminded of my grandmother. Mind you, my grandmother was someone that I was close with, and she was an important person too in my life. Her and my mother lived together up until her death. The hospital had put a plug on her, and I was there. I was very traumatized. So I didn't want to see my mom go for that, and that was like a traumatizing thing for me. I guess I didn't shed tears either. I kind of held back. And when I found out she passed away, I didn't shed any tears. Then a pivot turned here in my life after the fact. Pivoted. Here's why I pivoted. When I moved in with my dad, I stayed there for 6 months, and I got two jobs. One at the Fred Meyers in Federal Way, which is near Tacoma, a retirement home, working as a dishwasher. And this job, being a dishwasher, was kind of interesting because I would be the last one to leave. And that would be a challenging job, scraping the food out and stuff like that. I put some elbow grease in it, I guess you can say. And sometimes I would fill the pan though with soap, let it soak. And also, when I moved out, transportation became more of a challenge for me at the time, for the time being, because my job was in Federal Way and I was in Tacoma. There was a bus, 500, which went from Federal Way to Tacoma. And sometimes sometimes I missed that bus sometimes I would, and then I would get a ride, like an Uber or something. One time I got a ride with my dad. I started to get a job working in Tacoma as a dishwasher at a restaurant, which is no longer around. It's called Steamers. It was a pretty good restaurant too, pretty good food. And also, as I moved out and I settled into being independent, I decided to work towards getting my license. So I went to driving school. A year later, I passed my test, got my license, and got my vehicle. That's when independent truly became my best friend. And I ended up getting an associate degree that year too. And my present self, at the time of writing this blog that I wrote, which inspired this podcast, 33. Right now I'm 35 right now. And I said I was self-aware. My confidence was food in that time. Then I had spending problems, and both of these are still true a little bit. More self-aware now than ever. My spending habits and my thoughts and what I do, my flaws. Also, I said I like to read books, and I'm a writer. Both of these things are still true. And also, I mentioned that I like to travel to Honduras and Germany. I've traveled a few places to New York, seen the Statue of Liberty and such things like that, and being able to go to New York, be able to travel in general is fun. Yeah, but it can be pricey. So I have to save money and get better at spending money. And what I spend my money on, I would travel to Honduras and Germany eventually. Honduras because I would see where my grandparents came from, on my dad's side. And Germany because I was born in Germany. Also, I mentioned that I was into photography. Um, that was something I enjoyed doing at the time, and then I lost interest in it. I leaned more into writing. My future self, my future self would be more confident in myself, be more sure of myself, and be a better communicator. Because that's a necessary skill to network, especially if I want to be an author and want to maybe go to communicate with other authors and have bookshop. Book events and stuff like that. Also, time management skills. I would want to work on that, improve on that, but in the near future, and become better at being focused. Time management, I'm still kind of working on, work in progress. So it's my focus too, and also something that's ongoing all the time to death. Improving my writing skills. Today we discussed my present, and future self from my future self. And thanks for listening to the story behind the words. If you're interested in my podcast, you can listen to it on Spotify and YouTube.